Here is the most dangerous sentence in brand strategy. Our awareness is up. Those 4 words have ended more campaigns than you can imagine. Because when management decide that awareness goes up is a good metric, they gave themselves permission to stop asking harder questions. Hear me out. It's not do people recognize us, it's about do people believe in us. And it's not the same question. It's also the exact gap where brand strategies come to die. Welcome to Actions Compound. This is episode 2. My name is Jean-Marc and I'm here to talk to you about branding. Last week I gave you the experience gap, which is all about the experience you're expecting and the experience you're getting. Meaning that you have to think about your end consumer when creating a product or a strategy or whatever. There's always a gap between the experience on site or on foot or on digital, which is not the same as it was in the brief. And this week we're here because brand awareness measures recognition and it answers one question. Have you heard of this brand? And that's it. That's the entirety of what it tells. It does not tell you whether someone who's interested and recognizes your brand might be able to buy yours instead of a competitor one. And it doesn't tell you if they feel anything about it. It does not answer the question whether they should pay premium for it or if they will stay loyal as soon as something occurs or happens or changes to the brand which they might not like. Or there's a cheaper alternative on the market from a competitor. Awareness tells you that your brand has entered someone's memory. Nothing more, and memory is cheap. Not if you buy SSD RAMs for your computer, I know. See, memory in a strategy sense is just what happens when you spend enough money to advertise your product and campaign for it. Any brand with sufficient funds can create recognition. It just scales with the spending you do. But belief is different. Belief happens when somebody has encountered your product or your brand, physically, emotionally, or experiential, and they decide that it stands for something that they value. And it scales with the quality that you deliver. So here's what we're going to do, a small little test. Think of 3 brands and how you recognize them. Is it the logo, the title of the campaign? Is it the way it presents themselves? You should be able to identify them instantly. Now, how many of those 3 do you actually believe in? Not recognize, believe in. The way Porsche owners talk about Porsche, the way somebody describes they stood in the Apple store for a very first time and are now committed to that ecosystem. And the way that a Red Bull athlete talks about that brand because it gave their career such a boost. See, people know thousands of brands, but just for a handful, maybe 2, 3, maybe 5, they actually believe in the brand and they're ambassadors for it. But all these other brands, they have a gap, and it's a strategy issue. It has everything to do with awareness being a KPI that should be held in check even much more than we already do. Because this is what awareness does within companies. It gives every hollow brand experience a passing grade. The activation generated 40,000 impressions and awareness is up by 3 points. This report looks really good. No, it doesn't. Wait, nobody asked the question whether those 40,000 impressions actually walk away with a feeling, with an emotion that will draw them into buying later. Do they believe in it? And if you can measure that, well, if those numbers go up, your strategy is working. So let me just paint a picture for you to make it more clear. I want to name the structural reason, this is sort of a trap, why this happens. And it's structural for a large amount of companies, maybe yours. The people running these organizations are not stupid, not at all, but they are trapped inside a measurement system that comes with different outcomes than you should be using. In most brand organizations, the experiential branding team reports into events, and events report into marketing, and marketing is reported in share of voice, reach, and awareness. So the experiential team actual output, the quality of someone having a feeling for a brand, and the depth that it creates for these people is never formally measured, and it's never presented to the board. And that means that it's never the number that's going to determine the budget for next year. What gets measured gets resourced, and what doesn't get measured, well, that's not there. So the single most powerful performance mechanism for building brand belief, the controlled encounter, the experience that turns recognition into conviction, is managed as a cost center and optimized for logistics. It's measured on attendance and always underfunded for the media plan that is producing reach without depth. That's why the experience gap is not a creative failure. It is a structural one. The brief is still wrong because the metrics are wrong, and the metric is wrong because the organization decided that belief was a strategic object worth measuring, Fix the metric and the brief changes. Change the brief and the experience changes. And if you change the experience, well, your brand is being built. Belief is created. And that's what we're aiming for. And I know it sounds super simple. It just requires some dismantling of some infrastructure that a company has had for like 20 years. And that's not something that anybody would like to do. Would you? So now let me give you the commercial consequence of this, because I want to be concrete. We'll take two brands in the same category with the same awareness score. Let's say they have about a 70% recall in their market. One has been investing a lot of time in the experiential touch points for over a decade, and the other has been investing in media reach exclusively, so ads and that kind of stuff. And 5 years later, they both have similar scores. The media spend still maintained the recognition, but the first brand has a net promoter score that's about 30 points higher. And their customer retention, well, that's 15% better. Their average value by consumer spend is also higher because people tend to tolerate price increases. And in fact, they might even expect a price premium. And if there's a new product launch, people tend to buy it and believe it before they've actually seen the product. See, the awareness metric looks the same, but businesses are not the same. One is compounding and the other one is just spreading water in and making sure that it looks like growth, but it's actually just marketing spend that goes away, you get new awareness, and then the spend goes away, and then you get new awareness, etc., etc. But it's not moving the needle because this one is compounding time over time with action over action and loyalty over loyalty, which gives you a lot of confidence and people want to buy your product again. So what does it look like when a brand chooses belief over awareness? Good question. Let me give you 3 examples. Number 1, Porsche. Not the most recognized brand in the world. Sure, everybody knows the 911 because it's such an iconic car, right? The design, if you see it from the side, just a pinstripe line, you know that brand. You've seen the logo a million times. Maybe not in real life every day, but definitely somewhere on the internet or TV or... And if you've ever driven a Porsche, or even if you have owned one, you probably still own one, because people who bought a Porsche and experience the vibe that it gives you, not just saying that you can drive a Porsche, but the actual emotion that you get, the connection with the brand and the people that drive these types of cars, they're different types of people. These are Porsche-minded people. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you've ever felt that feeling, you know that these people will tend to stay with the brand, even if they might not like a subtle change in a headlight or whatever. They are so down to getting everything that Porsche is and Porsche wants because that's what they want. Meaning customers for life. And second one, also a very expensive brand, but I'll tell you why. It's Rolex. Rolex is on such a great level in running their brand campaigns. Sure, they sponsor Formula 1, or now it's Tag Heuer to be exactly, but there are so many activations in Wimbledon and in horseback riding where Rolex is the brand to go to as a sponsorship. But their markets are over there. Those are the target clients. And did you know that they have a 4-year waiting list for most of the models that they sell? Meaning you have to wait 4 years just to get that similar Rolex that you saw on an ad, because it's such a high exclusive product. And as soon as you got it, it's worth the wait. Everybody knows and recognizes the watch brand from miles away. And yes, they have an opinion about it, but that's not what this episode is all about. And the third example I'm going to give you is EVs. Maybe you were thinking I was going to throw an Apple over there, but no. Wait, EVs. Every brand right now, car brand I mean, needs to promote some type of EV because the world is changing, it's a new technology, it's emerging, everybody wants to do better for the world. But are you going to buy an EV from a manufacturer like BMW or Kia? Or are you going to buy a EV from some Chinese brand that didn't exist 5 years ago? This is a big shift in the market right now. A lot of people are shifting towards EVs. And in Europe, you can definitely see the landscape is changing a lot. There are a lot of new competitors coming in on the market. In the US, it's the same. There's BYD. There are some other brands from China that are definitely pushing their products onto the market because they are cheap. But do you actually believe in that brand? If you were to buy a BMW, for instance, you know the track record, you know the name, the heritage that it brings, and Yes, you buy into that car because you know it's solid, it should be a good car. Nobody knows this yet for a lot of the Chinese brands, but it doesn't mean they're bad cars. In fact, I beg to differ. There are some great electric vehicles out there from Chinese brands. And I'll get back to you on a different episode. But thinking about that brand aspect, a lot of people will go to the same showroom they've always been, even if they are looking for an EV. And even if you want to go and buy a BMW, and BMW might not be the best EV choice for whatever reason, and you have to go to a competitor in the future, you are initially still going to that same brand. And that's exactly where the experience gap comes in as well, because the experience you're expecting at a BMW dealership is of top tier premium level. And if you were to go to a, for instance, BYD dealership, you might not get that exact same premium luxury feel. Or maybe it's better because you won't feel like you're somewhere where you are misplaced, or you'll feel more down to earth because people just want to sell you a car and not the entire luxury experience, which you're also paying for. Remember that. So there's no fine line, but there's definitely movement in the market, and all these brands are trying to create some dimensional emotion with you as the potential buyer, and they do it through a lot of ad campaigns, and they don't seem to do it through activations physically a lot. Some brands do, and these are the ones, the experiential brands, which I love to do, what I love to talk about the entire day. Those are the ones that are going to shift the feeling and emotion in their potential buyers, or in the kids right now that are growing up and need to be, driving a car in 10 years or 8 years from now. They'll know these brands like we know all the old brands. They build recognition over time, and now these new electric vehicle brands are building the same rapport on a different level through different channels that you and I are used to. That's something to keep in mind. This is the most perfect example I can give to you about awareness. So how does belief actually bind to a person? It comes in 3 parts. It starts with consistency. Every encounter needs to feel the same. It should be a lot of volume, getting eyeballs on the same product or brand over and over and over. So your brain knows what it can expect when they see a logo the next time. It's very subconscious. And the second element is coherence, and I talk about this a lot. If the touch points are all the same, physically, online, emotionally, offline, etc., your belief will be embedded even more. It will be confirmed for you in your brain. You don't actually feel this or do this, but it does that in your brain. It settles in because it just seems to be clicking. It seems to work and all match all together. And that's where the third part comes in, and that's where the show is all about. Compounding. Belief doesn't start with 1 encounter, 2 or 3. It starts with 7 to 8 encounters, and it needs 12 encounters to actually trigger something in your mind before you can get a solid brand recognition that is just embedded in your memory. And all these expensive brands like Rolex and Porsche and Hermes and whatever, Louis Vuitton, those are really, really expensive brands. You know this not because you went to the store. You know this by how they are placed, by where their ads are located, what type of people wear these products and have these products. If you're able to afford a $15,000 watch, well, you're a type of person with a set type of expectation from the people around you, and now you know that this brand fits that type of person. Well, you can identify maybe or maybe not, and you might not ever get a watch because you don't want to spend the money on it, or you do because you think status is also a big part of your life, which of course is a very terrible metric. But back to the awareness part. You are very aware of this brand and the way it positions it because the people that uses or buys this product, if it was a Porsche, it's an even bigger, vehicle, to be funny, to actually showcase that what you think is your money's worth. And if you can afford it, do it. It's your life, not mine. So consistency, coherence, compounding. Those are the 3 mechanics of belief. So the argue of this episode, stated as plainly as possible, is awareness is a threshold. Cross it, maintain it, don't obsess over it. Because once you are finally known, the only thing that matters is if people actually believe in you. Do you believe in me, what I have to say? Maybe not. This is the first time that you encounter me, or the second or the fourth or the whatever time. But if you follow me and subscribe to this channel or this podcast, whichever you're watching, that would mean so much to me. And I get to believe that what I preach is actually worthy to thee. And that means that I can give you more insights over time. And belief is actually created by creating an experience and compound over time. Compound. And that makes the belief stronger. And that's what we're working on. That's what you should be doing if you're a brand manager right now. Because the brands that figure this out stop optimizing for impressions and start creating a belief system. And they resource experience as a strategic asset and not a logistic exercise. And they build something that their competitors, still celebrating their awareness scores in the debrief, cannot touch. Next week, I'll be back with episode 3. That will be on Monday. But this Friday, there's another deep dive episode where I dive into one marketing activation that shocks the world and why it worked that way. How did it impress so many people, or what did it do? Follow me, check out those other videos, or follow me on the podcast. And I'll see you next week on Monday. Actions compound. My name is Jean-Marc. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.